Eagle 1575, and I'm your host, Petty Officer Spurley, here with the Red Cross and Emergency Management. We're moving right along this hour. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the signs and symptoms of frostbite and hypothermia.
Correct. So if anyone's interested in learning more, by the way, we do cover these topics in our CPR first aid class, and the next one's going to be in January. So it's important, as we talked about how to build a snowman safely, how we dress our kids, how we dress ourselves before we go out and spend time out in this winter wonderland. But it's important that we recognize the signs and symptoms of frostbite hypothermia. So first of all, there's a difference between, they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
So frostbite is where the tissue in your extremities, usually in your fingers, your ears, your toes, your nose, places that are furthest from the circulatory system, are actually starting to freeze. It's kind of like the human version of freeze or burn. So frostbite, the signs and symptoms that you're going to be looking for is numbness in the extremities. You may also experience pain in the extremities. When you look at, let's say, your fingers, they may be turning white or waxen, starting to turn blue. If you start to see any black or blue spots, any white spots, that's signs that you were starting to get into some serious frostbite territory. Hypothermia, on the other hand, is when your core body temperature starts to drop. So your signs and symptoms are going to be you might start to feel kind of confused, dizzy, sleepy. A lot of people who are experiencing hypothermia say they just want to go to sleep. There's usually no pain involved, but your internal organs and your internal systems are starting to shut down. Another sign is if someone starts to shiver and they can't stop, especially if they can't stop even when you're trying to warm them up. Those are signs that you're going to need to start caring for hypothermia. For me, I was going to tell a little bit of a story about a time I experienced borderline frostbite. I was skiing. I was wearing, they were ski gloves, but they were gloves, not mittens. And after a while, I realized that I was having a hard time holding my ski pole, so maybe it was time to go and warm my hands up. And when I went to the bathroom and I was going to run my fingers under warm water, it felt like fire.
Yeah.
I basically had to turn the tap to cold water and then slowly get at the temperature, and I was borderline frostbite. Like another hour out there, and I was going to start losing things. Have either, Bob?
Well, I recall a time actually with a scout troop overnight camping at winter time, and of course, if you're not prepared for the overnight temperature drop and don't have good sleep gear, you can start getting cold, and so had to watch those youth very carefully to make sure that they were staying warm, that they had warm gear. Had a time or two where you could see those signs and symptoms coming of dizziness, pupils being dilated, and we had to get those youth warmed up quickly to prevent them going deeper into hypothermia, which can be life-threatening if it progresses. So if you're out with a group of youth or just your family, anyone, watch and make sure everybody's doing okay, that they're staying warm.
Yeah.
And avoid getting into those problems.
Yeah, especially if you feel like we were talking about during the break, if you're like skiing or snowboarding, if you're on a snowshoeing hike, definitely make sure you guys are dressed appropriately.
And you want to stay dry. Hypothermia is much more likely when the conditions include wind and wet. So that's why we keep on reiterating you want to have the waterproof snow gear. But I mean, keep in mind, hypothermia isn't just a wintertime issue. So,
alrighty. Was that all we had for now?
I think so. I'm not going to make Natalie jump in on the first aid portion of this.
Alright, yeah. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about how to treat frostbite and hypothermia. So make sure you guys keep on listening for that. We're going to take a quick music break there. We've got Hanson bringing you A Wonderful Christmas right here on the Eagle 1575.